Nagaraju. Hi Nagaraju, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm doing well too. Thank you so much for asking. And so, thank you so much for joining us. And we are glad to have you here as a keynote speaker. You can share your screen now.
Sure.
Thank you.
Do you see my screen now?
Yeah, I cannot see it right now, but I think it will be working in a while.
Okay.
Yes, it's perfectly working now. So good luck, stage is all yours now. I'll ask the audience that if they will be having any question related to Nagaraju's presentation, you can ask in the chat or in the QA session, and we will make sure to answer all of your queries at the end of his session. So good luck, Nagaraju. Stage is all yours now.
Yeah. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Nagaraju. She already introduced me. I work as a data engineer in Swedbank. We have been doing the data migration from on-prem to cloud, and we are now fully uh, cloud eligible, like, yeah, cloud onboarded, everything on cloud data as well as the models. So we are very happy with that progress. So I would like to share some of the insights or experiences that I've gone through in this kind of in this presentation. So we have like, why do we need product analytics in the first place? What kind of products, uh, and how we can serve the data to all these products, and how we can make an efficient, very useful data product analytics platform. So we, if you want to get a 360 view of a particular product, you need to capture all the information about the product and its usage, how efficient it is, and what are the reviews, feedbacks, everything you can capture if you have a efficient product analytics platform. Also, you can analyze the product based on the statistics that you gather while tracking the product usage. Also, how many customers are using the product, and all of that information. And you can use those insights from the statistics, and you can improve the product or create new products from the analyticals platform. So that's the main purpose of having a platform which can serve different products. So yeah, let's move on to why product analytics platform required. So as I explained before, you can get all the insights of the product, and then you can take action on those products, uh, and improve, or create new products based on the requirements, based on the analysis. Then you can build better products, and also easily manage the data, uh, because every product requires different data sets, and if you put the data in different places, it will be very difficult to manage the data. So it is very useful for everyone in the organization to have a unified data management platform where you can manage and provide access, manage access, also manage security and everything. So that's the main purpose of why do we need a product platform. Also, controlling data sharing, which means that you can share the same set of data to different product teams, uh, and it is easy to track if you have data at one place in a single platform. That's also, and also based on the usability, based on the availability, you can scale the platform through compute as well as through the performance wise. So you can increase or decrease the platform usage based on the platform users or the product teams basically. Also, it is easy to maintain the privacy and security if you have a single system, which is also useful for getting, also it is easy to get a approvals from, regulatory sides or the GDPR or any sort of regulatory privacy security concerns. You can build a strong and very efficient security system around a platform. If you have multiple platforms and multiple data sets, it is very difficult to keep track of everything what's happening. But if you have a single platform or multiple platform which acts in a single entity, that will be easy to control and maintain it. That's one of the reason why we do need platforms, product analytics platform. So how do we prepare data for these product analytics platform? Data is a main source for analytics, and we have data everywhere, and it is available in different formats in different sources. So it is very difficult to gather everything from everywhere and make it available for the analytics teams, be it machine learning or be it reporting, be it marketing. So we product teams use the data for different purposes. So we need to prepare data in such an efficient way and store it in an efficient way that can serve all these platforms efficiently. So in order to do that, we need to first determine the data strategy. What is the main strategy of the data? Is it just serve for a particular purpose? What is the use case? So you need to determine the use cases and how you want to prepare your data for all the product teams. So you need to first identify what are the goals of the organization, when what are the goals of the use cases that are available or that you want to serve. You need to prioritize the use cases, and based on the use cases, based on the organization goals, you need to prepare a data strategy for sourcing until you feed the downstream applications or product teams. So you need to build a uh, strategy before even starting development. So what then I would prefer to go with a use case based approach, because sourcing everything and keeping and not using also not efficient way of preparing the data. So you need to first identify the use cases, and you need to prepare data for each of the use case, but store it in a single storage place where it can serve multiple use cases. So that's a way. So you need to build data pipelines in that can you source once, but you serve multiple times with different people, not duplicating the data. So that's the best approach that I can think of. From the use cases and from the data strategy, then you identify your data requirements. So how many models use what kind of data, and what is the volume, and what is the history that is required, and what is the retention period, how long the history is required. So you need to capture all this information about the use cases, basically the uh, how frequently the data refresh required. Is it like a daily, monthly, or is it real time streaming? So those kind of requirements you need to capture from the use cases and other consumers or requirements. Then you need to plan and organize your data. So the basic thing is building data pipelines that can execute on daily basis or monthly basis, depends on how frequently you want to source the data from source systems. And then once you source the data, you put it in a data lake or data warehouse, or now it is Delta Lake. So you capture the data in a single source, a single storage layer basically, and you maintain it in different layers. So basically, uh, the data that you captures, it should be have it should have a raw format as well in order to make it available for everyone and true to the source as well. So true source of information is needs to be maintained in the data lake in different layers. So you need to maintain in a raw layer, which is a true to the source, and then you make the changes, and you do the all the cleaning cleansing the data, and then you need to do the transformations that are required for you to keep the data in a unified format, and store it efficiently with the partitioning and yeah, basically in based on the use case, you need to organize your data and then make it available for other product teams whenever they want. You can just uh, provide the virtual views, not actually cloning the data, but maintain in a different layers and serve the different product teams based on the requirements, how many attributes they need, how much data they need. So everything needs to be properly tracked and properly planned and properly captured. So that's how you organize your data. So in order to keep the track of data, you need to develop a tracking plan. Basically, you need to have a consistent data everywhere. So if you give same data to different teams for a different like, or same use case, different use case, it should be consistent. So because the product teams do not know what is data, what actually data is, so they just use it, and if you give a inconsistent or invalid data, they will get the bad results, and they will not even realize at times because they do not know what actual data looks like. So you need to maintain a consistent and reliable data that for them to consume, and usability as well. So if the data volume is too huge, or if it is it should be available all the time as well. So you need to store either in cloud platform or on-prem, which should be available 24/7. Also, it has to be performing data, which means that it should be accessible in an efficient way. So you need to partition the data in such a way that it will not take a lot of time for querying the data or accessing the data, and the complexity. So when you take the data from different sources, which are available in different systems, different formats, so you need to split the complexity into simple usable data and then store it in a non-complex environment, non-complex way. Then also maintain the data, like if you are giving it to multiple layers or multiple product teams, you should be able to track each attribute that is going from source to the destination. So you need to maintain the data lineage. I'm going to talk about all this in the next slide. So yeah, you need to follow a tracking plan to capture everything about data, and how you are storing, who is accessing, and how much time you need to retain, and all of those uh, information you need to keep track of it. So in the modern data infrastructure, you can see like we have different uh, systems. Here you have like data ingestion platform where you can use different ETL platforms. Maltano is like open source ETL platform. There are other cloud platforms, non-cloud platforms, tools as well, which will make easy for data engineers to source the data. And then you can also have uh, like event collection for a streaming data, and then you need to do a orchestration using different tools like Talent and other tools which you can use for orchestrating. And then transformations, you can use Python, dbt, or different ETL tools also you can use for transformation. And for data quality monitoring, there are different tools available. So all these you need to integrate in order to maintain the data and secure the data as well, with the proper monitoring and governance. There are different governance tools. For example, Immuta we are using in the cloud at the moment for maintaining the policies, who is accessing, and how we can anonymize the data, how we can protect the data from different consumers. So then you store the data in a cloud data warehouse or local data warehouse or data lakes in a cloud or on-prem as well. So this is how the entire analytics platform looks like for storing and serving the data to different product teams. So which will have a unified format and efficient storage mechanisms. So in order to implement data for the product analytics platform, so as I mentioned, central source of truth, that is in data lake or data warehousing, which should be maintained in different layers for them to access. And then you need to unify the data format. So it will be difficult for product teams to uh, read different data formats. So you need to maintain in a single data format, unified data format, the data sets. And then you need to also maintain the metadata information about each attribute, each table, or each data that you're sourcing, and the data lineage, how the data is moving from one product team to other product team, or from source to the data lake, and within the data lake with different data layers. It will be very easy if any of the source information is changing, in order to do a impact analysis and other uh, tracking the glossary information also. So this will be very useful for maintaining data lineage. Then you need to do a dynamic data and tools integration. So it will be easy if the platform teams also, or product teams also, using the tools that are inline or integrate with the platform integration. uh, the data needs to be synced, or reconciliation needs to be done properly from the source as well as destination, whether the data that they are consuming or the data that we are sourcing is actually matching to the source or not, or destination or not. So you need to maintain different frameworks in order to track and integrate the data across the platforms. And you also, the tool integration is very important when you go from product teams. Then maintain active metadata. So every attribute that you are sourcing, the data about the data should be maintained, and that will be very useful later phases of the life cycle of data maintenance. Then this is one way of serving the data. So you can build KPIs to keep track of data and its statistics, and also feature stores. Like feature store is basically you serve data as a like service, data as a service. I mean, you, any product team that is requesting for a specific data, you build APIs and KPIs, and then feature stores where you can pass the data based on the request, and maintain its request information, also what kind of data you are giving. So it's easy for audit as well. So this is the best efficient way to serve data as a service, by building KPIs and APIs with different systems across the organization. And yeah, common frameworks and processes, these are very useful for keep track of data, not just how you source the data, but also how the consumers are consuming the data. uh, Metadata, for maintaining the metadata, also the referential data, lookup data. So all these needs to be maintained properly with the common frameworks and processes. uh, and also it should be documented very well, it for the product teams as well as the production teams to keep track of what's happening and how the pipelines are running. So documentation is very, very important for product teams to able to understand what is the data, and because the technical data and the business data, so those needs to be maintained in a glossary, uh, and the mapping needs to be done properly between technical and business lineage and business glossary as well. So this is very important uh, for the data team to maintain, because if you don't have a proper definition of data, the business team cannot understand, and they cannot do self-service at their end. With every time they have to come to the data team to understand what is the data, if you don't provide proper documentation, proper glossary information. So this is very important aspect during and after the development of data pipelines. And then active metadata is very important, because using the metadata, you can create a data pipelines using the metadata, which is called metadata driven development. So you don't code for every pattern, you don't code for every data set that is coming. So you code for a particular pattern, and then you use the metadata of that particular pattern to source new set of data. So this is very important. There are a lot of tools available or programming languages you can code to create a generic frameworks, generic metadata driven development, where you can just capture the metadata information and use the metadata to create a pipeline instead of doing pipeline from the scratch. So this is how it is easy for data teams to capture the information and make it readily available for the product teams. So this is an example where you collect data from website applications, and then you use different tools for collecting the data and tracking the data. Then for other application, third-party tools, you can use ETL tools as well, and then store it in database and serve it to the analytical teams. Then processing data. So this is most of the data engineers know how we do this. Basically, you capture data and store it in the database systems or data lakes, and code, you store it in the repositories. Then you do serve the data models, and also the relationship between the data sets maintained in the metadata systems as well. Then once the data is generated, processed, and stored in the file system, then you can serve the data as basically you need to process the data, all the transformations and error processing, data quality checks, everything needs to done. Then you store it in. Once the storing is done, then you enable the consumers to access the data through data governance and applying the data policies for maintaining the GDPR rules and other compliance from the organization or from the government. So you need to do the data governance for giving the data to the product teams. So that's how you need to process the data and make it available for product teams. So this is how you create your own analytic platforms. So first you set a business objective and find out the use cases, then find out the functional and non-functional requirement from business users, as well as the technical people from the product teams, also your internal team. And then you organize your data, as I mentioned before, with the different platform tools and uh, different teams within the organization. You organize and then you analyze your data and give it to the platform teams. Here you have this is I gathered from some other information. Basically, this is how we can organize the data using monitoring and administration for tracking the data, and reports, OLAP data mining models for static reports and dynamic reports. Then use the visualization tools, and all these tools needs to be integrated in a single platform. That's where if another team wants, you can just replicate or provide an extra workspace within the platform. So you don't define a new platform all the time. You create one single analytical platform, then you make a copy or onboard the new teams into new AD groups, or basically new workspace within the platform. So once a platform is established and data is ready, you just create a workspace and onboard the new product teams or existing teams for accessing the data. How much time do we have more? We have 5 more minutes. These are the references I got it from. Any questions? Please go ahead.